There's a weight loss habit that literally saved my transformation twice. Once when I lost over 100 pounds in my early 20s, and again after I had to figure it out all over again after having my baby at 40. But nobody talks about these habits because they're not sexy, not dramatic, and they don't promise results in exactly 30 days. I'm Dr. Nina, a licensed clinical psychologist, and I understand the mind-body connection. What I'm about to share isn't all about meal timing or even workout splits. It's about the psychology of lasting change that most people miss. But here's what I want to know, because I'm nosy. How many times have you started over with your health journey? Drop a number in the comments. 5 times? 20 times? Look, I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm not ashamed. When I first lost all that weight, it took me several times. And I want to know where you are, because understanding your habits is the first step at breaking them. Now, this content is for educational purposes only. Always consult your personal healthcare provider before starting any changes, especially if you have medical conditions. And make sure you check out my goal setting worksheet and my boundary setting checklist, which are gifts for you, linked down in the description.
Dr. Nina, the girl next door, beautiful brown baby doll.
Here's what I learned through both my transformations. Your body doesn't have a set weight. Your brain has a set identity. And that identity includes stories of who you are, what you're capable of, and how much success you're allowed to have. When I first lost over 100 pounds, I had to completely rewire my brain's image of me. I went from seeing myself as the heavy girl, but cute, right? to someone who takes care of her body. But here's what nobody warned me about. After having my baby at 40, my body tried to default back to old patterns. I remember standing in my kitchen at 4 p.m., exhausted from that new mom life, and my brain was telling me the same story. You're too busy to prioritize yourself. Just grab something quick. You'll start again Monday. Sound familiar? The habits I'm going to share is not about food or exercise. It's about training your brain to learn that you're someone who follows through on the commitments to yourself. But here's the truth. Lasting weight loss ain't about perfecting your diet. Nah, it's about becoming the type of person that keeps promises to herself. Let that settle in. Let me tell you what this looked like in real life. During my first transformation in my 20s, I was all or nothing, and I had a bunch of stinking thinking. Perfect for weeks, then completely off track for days. The scale would yo-yo, my confidence would crash, and then I'd start the cycle all over again. The breakthrough came when I stopped focusing on outcomes and started focusing on my identity. Instead of saying I want to lose 100 pounds, which I know some of us have said, I started to say that I'm someone who moves her body every day. Instead of I want to eat healthy, I started to say that I'm someone who nourishes herself well. There was this one habit that became my lifeline at that time. I committed to drinking 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning. That's it. Not a perfect breakfast, not an hour-long workout, just water. But here's what happened. Every morning that I kept that commitment, I was reinforcing the identity of someone who follows through. Fast forward 20 years to postpartum life. I tried to jump right back into my old intense routines. But life with a baby at 40 is different. And mama still got her own thing going. I had to completely rethink and remix my approach. This time, my non-negotiable became intermittent fasting. Not just for the weight loss, but as a daily practice of self-discipline and self-care. Every day I honored my eating window. I was telling my brain, I'm still someone that keeps commitments to herself, even when life gets crazy and chaotic. Cause it do. Speaking of keeping commitments to yourself, I'm thankful to Rewiring for sponsoring today's video. And I have some updates for y'all on that. I actually showed y'all this treadmill last month. And since then, I've been using it at least 4 to 5 times a week, which is wild because these days, me and cardio, we got a complicated relationship going on. Now, the greatest thing about this treadmill is that I'm literally racing through these immersive worlds while I run. I get to collect points, unlock achievements, and climb the leaderboards. I was skeptical about whether or not the gamification would keep me consistent, but I'm completely hooked. With every workout, I find myself thinking this, just a few more points to beat my own personal record, because we only in competition with ourselves. There was a day last week that I was exhausted and ready to skip my workout, but I kept thinking about the races I have and the goals that I wanted to set and how close I was to moving up my own rankings. That competitive element got me back on the treadmill when nothing else would work. So the psychology behind it is brilliant. You're 2.5 times more likely to stick with gamified fitness than traditional workouts. Boom. Plus, what I love is I can stream all my apps. I'm consistently pulling up my YouTube Sophistiratchet playlists, and I can do that while I'm gaming and running. I really desire to get back to running postpartum, especially since I'm a full marathon completer, and this completely brought me back to it. I'm not just surviving workouts anymore. I'm genuinely looking forward to them. From a psychology perspective, this is exactly what I mean from micro-integrity expanding. Instead of forcing myself through boring cardio, I engaged in these immersive games on the beautiful 22-inch touchscreen and the Cloud Strike Deck that makes every step comfortable. And being only 4 inches off the ground, it feels incredibly stable and natural. Aviron makes the world's first gamified treadmill. Plus, they have gamified rowers and bikes too. They have their best price of the year right now. And you can get an additional $50 off with code DrNina50. Check the link in my description. You'll be so happy you did. So what is the big habit that nobody talks about? I call it microintegrity, and it's the foundation of every successful transformation I've seen. Microintegrity means tiny commitments to yourself and keeping those no matter what. Not because the action itself is magical, nah, but because you're literally rewiring your brain's beliefs about who you are. Now here's how it works. You pick something so small that you can't talk yourself out of it. Maybe it's drinking that water every morning. Maybe it's taking 3 deep breaths before you eat. Maybe it's even putting on workout clothes even if you don't exercise. Every time you keep that micro commitment, you're creating evidence for your brain that you're someone who follows through. And here's what most people miss. Your brain starts looking for more evidence to support your new identity. Now, during my postpartum journey, my micro integrity habit was weighing myself every morning on my body pod. Not to obsess over the number, but to show up for the data. Some mornings I didn't want to step on it because I knew the number was going to disappoint me, but I did it anyway. The daily practice of showing up for myself, regardless of the outcome, it trained my brain to see me as someone who faces reality and make decisions from the truth instead of avoidance. As a psychologist, I can tell you identity change is the most powerful force for behavioral change. When your actions align with your identity, you don't need willpower. You're just being exactly who you are. Research shows that people who successfully maintain weight loss, they fundamentally changed how they see themselves. They don't see healthy behaviors as things they have to do. They see them as expressions of who they are. And I know this personally because even when I was losing weight and I really didn't like the whole bit about working out, doing all of that, every day I showed up for myself even a minute more. I felt more consistent and it was something I craved and I wanted for myself. So here's how you implement micro integrity. First, choose one behavior that represents the person that you want to become. Someone who prioritizes their health might commit themselves to reading nutrition labels. Someone who values their strength might commit themselves to doing at least 5 push-ups a day. Make it small so you can do it even on your worst day. The goal isn't just the behavior itself. It's the daily practice of keeping your word to yourself. Over time, your brain starts to believe, I am someone who keeps commitments, and that identity expands into bigger behaviors. Most people pick commitments that are too big. Okay, stuff we know we're not gonna do. They say, I'll work out for an hour and then feel like a failure when life happens. Start microscopic. Build the neural pathway of following through before you build on the behavior. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like in different phases of life. When I was losing my first 100 pounds, my micro integrity habit was writing down everything I put in my mouth every day. Not to restrict, but to practice honesty with myself and to actually tell the truth because something was lying. I felt like I wasn't eating that much, but I was definitely consuming way more calories than I needed to. If you're a new mom like I was postpartum or just taking on something brand new that takes up a lot of your time, maybe it's taking your vitamins every morning. If you're someone who emotionally eats, maybe it's pausing for 30 seconds before you put anything in your mouth to eat. And if you struggle with movement, maybe it's putting on your workout shoes every day. Here's what happens. After a few weeks of keeping your micro commitments, your brain starts trusting you more. You might find yourself naturally drinking more water, or putting on those workout shoes and actually exercising, or pausing even longer for your stress eating habits. The behavior expands because your identity has shifted. You're no longer someone who tries to be healthy. You're someone who is healthy. All right, can I get some snaps or some likes? You're not someone who wants to lose weight. You're someone who takes care of their body. This is exactly how I went from someone who lost and regained weight multiple times to someone who maintained her health for decades. Receipts. The micro integrity habit I had, it taught my brain that I'm someone who keeps commitments to herself, period. Even when the day didn't call for it, even when I didn't feel good, even when the days were ups and downs, baby, I was keeping my word. Now I know some of y'all are thinking, Dr. Nina, I've tried the small habits thing. It ain't work for me. Let me address the most common mistakes that I see. First, people pick habits that sound good, but they don't align with their actual lifestyle. If you're not a morning person, why would you commit yourself to 6 a.m. workouts? Be real with yourself. If you hate vegetables, why are you sitting up here making kale smoothies? Pick something that fits your real life, not your fantasy. Second, they expect immediate results. Micro integrity isn't about rapid transformation. It's about identity change. And that, my friends, happens slowly. You're literally rewiring neural pathways that may have been established for decades. Third, they make it too complicated. Your micro commitment should be so simple that a 5-year-old can understand it. Drink water when I wake up. up. Put on workout clothes after coffee. Take 3 deep breaths before dinner. So if you failed at this before, start even smaller. The goal is to build the muscle of follow through, not to achieve the perfect behavior immediately. And if you need help structuring this process, I've got my goal setting worksheet and my boundary setting checklist as gifts to you in my description box. They're specifically designed to help you to identify the right micro commitments and to protect the time and energy you need in order to follow through with them. Boundaries, please. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one micro integrity habit that represents who you want to become. Make it so small that you can't fail. Then commit to it for just 7 days, and then I want you to come back and report in the comments. And I want you to remember, as I say all the time, you are not broken. You don't need a perfect plan or even unlimited willpower. You just need to prove to your brain that you're someone who keeps commitments to themselves. And that identity shift is what creates long-lasting transformation. Believe me, I know. Whether it's your first attempt or you're ready to throw it all in the garbage, this might be the process you need to make everything actually stick. This is about you becoming someone new while working through those old patterns. All right, y'all, make sure that you comment, share this video with someone who can use it, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Beautiful brown baby doll. Peace.